totally
And
quit
we
this
are
podcast. Yeah, we totally
We
quit, and then
did.
we decided, hey, we can't give up on our amazing Thoughtify army. So here we are. We're back. We spent all the money that we made off this podcast over the last few weeks, and we realized we have to keep going because we're severely in debt now.
Yeah, spent a lot more than we actually made. But when you open up a business account, sometimes we'll give you a line of credit and you can run with that line of credit until it does not work. So that's the situation we are in. But I'm not going to lie to you. I definitely got a little, we had, I think this is like 3 weeks ago was our last episode. I mean, shoot, it might even be a month ago. But usually we would not let that much time go by. And when we first started this, we looked into other podcasts, smaller ones, and they usually had a trajectory that they would produce a lot in the beginning, and then all of a sudden they would just completely fall out, and you never see another episode from them again. And man, that stuff is it's easy to let other things creep in, and you're like, oh well, we really for the times that we did have to postpone it, we really had to postpone it, but it's just it could become an easy thing to put off, thinking that the interest we've garnered is still going to be there whenever we come back. But I think that's the logical fallacy a lot of people catch themselves in whenever they're trying to do something like this. So we are back, and the consistency will be back as well. We'll probably be recording more on weekends now. But all that to say, super good to be back in front of you guys, bringing you all of the juiciest takes on every topic.
Always. It's crazy to think since the last episode 38, we are officially almost at 6,100 followers. So shout out to all those that are continuing to follow us on social media and just on all of our different platforms. We're kind of shocked. I don't know. I think as each day and each week goes by, it's pretty mind blowing to see that you guys actually enjoy hearing what we talk about. Because I know we do, without a doubt. But it's pretty awesome seeing that that whole base is kind of just continue to grow. So shout out to all you guys.
Yeah,
It's
it is
kind of awesome.
definitely it's a fun thing to know that what you're saying is being heard by some people. But hot dang, that one viral clip that we had definitely it's weird because the different ways that you go viral is like it can be like an overnight, all of a sudden millions of people see it, but it can also just be a slow burn where it just keeps on getting more likes and more views. And we pull in every religious fanatic that is in the entire world that comes and starts a massive argument on the podcast, or not on the podcast, on the comment section. And then it's just so crazy to see people just like, and I'm not going to lie, I've been one of these people before. I'm not happy about that. But when you get into an Instagram argument and it's like, I saw this,
I don't believe you.
I saw this guy and he makes fun of Reddit threads, and it's like every time they're like, they say something, someone else goes, "You're wrong." And then someone's like, "Well, thanks for showing your elementary school education. The simple mistake in your argument is X." Then the other guy goes, "Well, I expected you to say that because you're engaging in a logical fallacy, which is Y." And he's like, "Ha, the easiest objection to overcome." And it just keeps on going back with the starting of every comment, talking about how they either expected them to say that or that is not a good argument to bring to the conversation. And it's literally just that going back and forth plus like 3-paragraph statements. So it's actually really, really funny to watch. But some people have good points.
I feel like
stopped reading about 3 messages in.
yeah. It's especially as the post gets going and you just get continual traction. It's like really cool because you want to read everything up front. Like when the clip's starting to go viral, you're like, holy cow, look at all this traction. But at a certain point, you're just like, I can't keep up with this, nor do I want to, because this is this is just way too much. And literally that situation that you just described, I feel like was just the monologue or the dialogue in an anime where they're building up for like a boss fight. It's like, haha, you walked right into my trap. I knew you would say this. And then it just
right into my
escalates from
trap.
there.
Well, I expected you to set
Well,
a trap.
guess what?
I
knew you.
was planning
know
for
that
this
you
trap
knew
to
that
be
I
here.
knew that I was walking into a trap.
That really is how
Hence,
anime boss fights usually go, where it's like, and the thing I hate about it the most, and this is anime boss fights, Reddit threads, Instagram conversations, it's all the same. It is literally like, but the people sell it really well. They're like, oh, you just came up with the dumbest point that I'm ready to dismantle. And then they say something, and like it's literally like the time in an anime where all of a sudden he brings out the secret weapon that he had to go on this journey to get, and now he's about to use it on the main villain. And the main villain for a second looks at it and goes, "Is that the whatever it is?" And then he's like, "Yes, it is." And he tells a story about how he went on the adventure to get it right before he uses it. And then he uses it, cuts him down, and then the villain pulls out a secret weapon and goes, "I knew that he was going to bring this weapon just in case, or just in case someone ever had this weapon. I had this one ace up my sleeve." And it's just like a never-ending one-up of the other person. And yeah, that's what we've seen in the Instagram comments. And it's, you can tell people are just sitting there scrolling, going, when there's thousands of comments, they just find something. And someone's sitting there at work at 2:30 p.m. on a Friday, ready to get off, and all of a sudden their phone lights up with a notification, and they're not very popular. They've got like 300 followers on Instagram. They join the crowd late. A notification from Instagram is a big deal to older people. They're like, it's like a like on Facebook. They're like, oh my gosh,
Especially from a random
someone.
person that like
So
engages
you're
with
just
you.
like either a rich uncle that I never knew about is reaching out to me to give me a donation, or
Which happens
um,
often.
oh, wait, someone is responding to the sarcastic comment that I left on a post that went viral 6 weeks ago, and they have made a dissertation of everything I said, or given a dissertation based on what I said. And I'm now going to lose the rest of the hours that my job is paying me to work, because I'm going to engage in this and really make sure this person knows that they shouldn't have done that. But no one ever wins.
Yeah. Man, and I will say, especially, I mean, from that same viral clip, just the continual comments it's continuously getting, that we've done a good job in agreeing that we will not respond to like 99.9% of the comments, because that's just, it's like the classic post and ghost, like Rogan always talks about. But there are a handful where it's just, I mean, we could probably count on one hand the amount of times we've done this, that we see a comment come across that is just so ridiculous and such a lie that you're just like, come on, that's just begging to be responded to. So I will say there's been a couple that we have kind of retorted back to. And yeah, I'm just like, you can't sit by and just let that go, because it's absurd. So holistically though, we try to let it go.
No, we do, and there was only one that we responded to recently, and it was because someone said that I had uh,
Goat
goat
heads on your
goat
wall.
skulls, goat heads on my wall.
Yeah. Well, the whole premise was like, yeah, one of these guys posted, about having discernment from the Holy Spirit, to understand, and this was relating to Project Bluebeam and the confusion that, whenever the government, if the government ever will utilize it as a weapon against the people. And that basically retorted to a comment from a guy saying, well, that's, of course, having um, intuition and just listening for the Holy Spirit's guidance. And this random lady chimes into that dude, and she's like, you want to talk about discernment? Coming from an individual who has goat heads posted on his wall. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, we can't let this one go. So we had to retort back and commented.
Really
I was
nothing
like,
big.
or we were like, those are Euro mounts
Was there?
from a deer hunt. So that's,
Yeah,
yeah.
was there? Not
I was
goat
just like,
heads. I
come
don't.
on. That's like, you're
Well,
trying
the
to
fact
spread
that you can't spot
disinformation at that point.
antlers, the fact that you're looking
Yeah.
at that and your brain was like, "That's a goat's head." Say it.
Yeah.
That is an indication that you've either it could be a few things. You live deep in a city and have never seen one bit of nature in your entire life. You are genuinely not very knowledgeable on anything outside of what's immediately important to you, or you're just trying to stir people up. I don't know,
Yeah.
but any of
One of the
those,
two.
I would say, you know, I wouldn't say makes you look that great. But at the end of the day, I don't. If you think they're goat heads, then run with it. Make us famous. Talk about how two Christian podcasters they had goat heads in their background, and they're now influencing over 6,000 people on Instagram and about
Yeah.
70 people on their actual podcast following on Spotify. And
Through their lives.
this is the start of us creating the situation for the Antichrist.
Through
This is
Project
it all.
Bluebeam.
It all starts here. This was a psyop. You guys are now that we've been influenced, there's no going back. But yes, this is
You're locked in. You're locked
we've
in for
been
the ride.
working with the U.S. and multiple governments for the past about year and a half, and they immediately knew it was going to be a big deal. They immediately saw the numbers and were like, "Hey, we need to co-opt this and make sure that the message, in order for us to get our plan across, is pushed across on this podcast." So
Yes.
the goat heads were a key
100%.
part in that. You figured it out. And honestly, quit whatever you're doing, go become a detective.
Yep. And now that we've said all that, aliens are real. They're coming to invade Earth in a matter of a couple weeks. Just be on your guard, you know. Now we can say everything.
Man, there's so much misinformation about Three Eye Atlas.
Yeah, there is. There's a lot of funky stuff that's been coming out. Just how it's changing. I mean, we knew it was changing speed, or it was getting faster as it was coming towards us, but now it's what? Changing color? I think one of the last things I saw was starting to change color.
That's what I'm saying about misinformation. Every time I see something about it, I look it up. And Chat GPT, if you want to get real tinfoil hat, could be, how would you say, watched, or the guardrails in it could be put in by people who won't let certain information be available on any type of public database. But most of the stuff I look up says, not only are there no credible reports, there's no articles anywhere outside of this specific post saying this. It's just like, they keep saying that, what is it, that the one thing that I've seen more than anything is people saying that it has changed speed and direction. Direction was the big one that I was like, I don't know everything that can influence a comet's speed, but if it changed direction, that would be, I don't think you could make any argument about what that could be outside of something intentional. But I have not found any other supporting articles saying that has changed speed or direction. So it's just like, that's what's upsetting me, is I get really excited, and then all of a sudden it's like, nope, there's nowhere that's actually supported.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just, it's the age of disinformation. We don't know what's real and what's not. And yeah, obviously on all this whole podcast, as hopefully our listeners would know, some individuals definitely do not know. They like to make assumptions, but take everything with a grain of salt. We just talk about interesting stuff. And I mean, we find it interesting. Clearly you guys find it interesting. So for all those individuals that sit there and be like, oh my gosh, they're spreading disinformation, they are so ignorant and stupid. I mean, we're the ones talking about stuff we enjoy, and clearly you're chiming in. So all that to say, I find it interesting with Three Eye Atlas. I know you probably heard the recent instance within the last few days. Pete Hegseth, our Secretary of War, SecDef, called all the generals up to Washington to meet, and that really just does not happen. So I did see a rumor, of course, a rumor or general speculation that people are like, holy cow, what if this is preparing for Three Eye Atlas? Like, they think it's something more than what we're being told, and that's why he's mobilizing kind of all the generals to prepare for something like this here in the coming weeks. Yeah.
Hold on.
I thought that was kind of interesting.
Well, no, I mean, that's the first thing that came to my mind whenever I heard. I mean, here's the thing. I don't know. I mean, obviously, neither of us know if that's true, but I will say that whatever's happening, it's not a small deal, because you do not call up every single person at or above a certain rank, even people in active combat zones, meaning that there's a huge logistics. I mean, I wouldn't say huge logistics undertaking. The military is amazing at getting people where they need to be when they need to be there. But I mean, if you're in an active conflict, or, in active conflict zone, usually it's a pretty big deal if the person commanding the whole operation, or senior person in charge of whatever's going on over there, all of a sudden has to get to Washington along with everyone else that's at or above his rank within 4 or 5 days. I mean, that's not a small logistical undertaking. I mean, the amount of people that have to be flown in and, get taken out. I mean, it takes like 17 hours to get back from some of these countries. It's ridiculous. So all that to say, I would not assume that it is Three Eye Atlas.
You would
But
not assume it is?
no, I think it's a really interesting thought. But um, Three Eye Atlas is unfortunately for me starting to become more of in terms of what I want it to be. I would really, I mean, I don't know if I'd want it to be. Maybe the aliens aren't nice, but in terms of me wanting to believe it's some type of object outside of a natural object, something that has some type of indication that something intelligent built it or is flying it or sent it. That would be the coolest thing in the world. Even if they were here to kill us, I'd just be like, for the moment that I found out, I'd be pretty happy. I'd be like, hey, it proves everything. I would call everyone I could and be like, remember how you called me stupid for believing that there was aliens? Guess what? They're here. So shut up. I hope they get you first, and I hope they can scan our memories and see that I stuck up for them and I said that they were
There you
real.
go.
Maybe that's the whole thing. They're just like, these people don't believe we're real. We're about to show them. We're about to say they effed around and found out. But I
The biggest
apologize.
reason that Keegan wants aliens to be a thing is to tell other people he told them so.
Yes. I mean,
That's about
there's
it.
like 17 topics I'm waiting to do that on. Not one of them is happening.
But I was going to say real quick. So Pete Hegseth calling the gathering of the military's top generals at the Marine Corps base Quantico. You want to know supposedly what the details are? He said, we have some great people coming in and it's just an esprit de corps. So it's basically just a rally. Trump said he's going to be attending the event, but evidently the whole meeting and purpose is for
it's a pizza party.
A rallying of the troops.
Yeah, it's a pizza party.
Totally. So
they're like, for all y'all's effort, get in here. We're doing it. We're doing a pizza party at the White House, and we're flying you in. Get in here.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but that's really odd to be like, it's urgent. You guys need to come, but it's just about rallying the troops.
Chase, it's a pizza party. Everyone hit 5 stars. All the people at and above a certain rank hit 5 stars for the week. And they told them at the beginning of this administration, if everyone 1 week, if everyone hits 5 stars, guess what? We're doing pizza party. And guess what? You're not even at the base. You're going to be at the White House, and we're going to fly you in. And it's going to be at a time where it's very suspicious. And I know that a lot of you are going to be in the middle of doing something, but when we announce the pizza party, we need you guys to get in there, because this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, once in a career opportunity. To have this next to you on your resume is a big deal.
I guess I'm just jealous because I wasn't invited. I'm just bitter about it. That's fine though. But you know what? We're going to have our own because we hit 5 stars on our own stuff this week. We're going to have a cupcake party. Cupcake.
That's an inside joke.
Long running inside joke for the last 20 years.
20 years. My brother would actually know what that is.
I don't know.
No, it was honestly never
your brother
funny.
Listen?
Yeah. Oh God. Yes, he does. And
no.
I love the fact he does, but because my mom told him. My mom didn't tell him about it. My mom told me about a post he made on Facebook a few weeks back, and I need to call him and thank him for it. But he said, actually pretty interesting stuff. And it was our podcast and an episode that he was listening to. He's like, you should check these guys out. And I was like, it's very awesome of you as a brother. It's just the episode that he picked that I was like, I wish you would have picked like a recent one, because it was our first episode. Sharks.
No. Oh, conspiracy theories and more.
And it's just there's nothing. Hey, go listen to it. We don't mind. It's just the fact that it shows it was back when we didn't have a time limit. We had no real gear,
at all.
No structure whatsoever. And we were like, podcasts are people talking. So we're just going to talk as long as we can. And we could have gone longer about anything. and then record it and put it online. And we're not going to have a set place that we sit in. We're not going to have a way it starts. We're not going to have an outro intro. We're not going to have a time limit. We're just going to shoot like not even from the hip, like it's from the ankle. And let's just say it reflected that. It definitely did. So as much as I love my brother and I want him, thank you for watching our episode. I appreciate that. And thank you for sharing it.
Shout out, brother. I won't say his name, but
Connor. We can say his name.
My gosh. Connor.
But
John
yeah.
Connor.
Share a recent one if you don't mind, because I think we've grown a little bit, but
we have.
I love you.
But shout out.
I love you.
That's awesome. Shout out to Connor. I miss you. I wish we could all hang out sometime.
Yeah, that was actually real. That was personal.
That was very personal, but whatever.
Personnel.
But yeah, all interesting stuff. And just speaking of government-related instances, it is nice to see that hopefully somewhat justice is being done, or at least we're heading in that direction of people being held accountable, because I want to get your thoughts on this. Mr. James Comey has been indicted as of September 25th, 2025. A federal grand jury in Alexandria, Virginia, indicted former FBI Director James Comey on two, not one, but two felony counts. One for making false statements to Congress under oath, and one for obstruction of a congressional proceeding.
Under oath. Are you telling me a sworn officer to represent the people's interests? Or I guess no, he's not politics. He was the director of the FBI, but a guy who's supposed to be loyal to Lady Liberty and no one else,
and justice,
lied, LIED, under oath, after he got up there and with the words from his mouth said, "I promise I'm not going to lie in the sight of God. I promise you I'm not going to lie." Are you telling me that there are reports that after saying something like that in front of other people, recorded, he might have lied?
And my gosh, he's being held accountable? Holy cow. What is that like?
What is this world coming to?
But yeah, just kind of reading through some of these details. The charges stem from Comey's virtual testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee on September 30th, 2020, where prosecutors allege he provided misleading information about his handling of the FBI's Russia investigation during the 2016 election. If convicted, Comey could face, up to 5 years in prison on each account. So, of course, Comey has pled not guilty, and in a video statement posted to Instagram, described the charges as politically motivated retribution, stating, "I am innocent, so let's have a trial." Go figure.
Yeah, so I actually saw his, Comey reminds me of a dude that would screw you over. Like, Comey just, looks like a guy that, all you gotta do is spend, 10 grand under his nose, and he's like, "What were you saying?" I'll do it. Yeah,
or
sure.
What were you not saying? Yeah.
Yeah, what, tell me what I need to think right now.
I can.
Or no, not even just that. I think that he's like the guy that looks in the mirror and imagines himself a superhero and is just like, I'm gonna save the world. This is what I was meant for, and this is I've got to do this. And all the while, it's like lying about Hillary Clinton's emails or something, it's he literally looks like the guy that was never cool in high school and then got out of high school, went to school, took it seriously, got into a field that people highly respect, had a lot of trouble getting respect in that field, even though he was in a field people naturally respect, which is law enforcement. Because he was never a super manly guy, always kind of kissing ass. And then finally got to a position where he has a lot of authority. And he was just like, I remember every single person that treated me with any type of adverseness as I was climbing up this ladder. And I'm about to let it rain hell on them. Like, that is who James Comey in a nutshell looks like. I could be wrong. And hey, everything could be wrong, but I'm just... I was listening to Tim Dillon today, great podcast. He's got a very unbiased, very nuanced, and very fair take on events as they happen. And he's also not afraid to say anything. He's not afraid to call people out. and he's a comedian, so he does it, in funny ways as well. But he was talking about this specific situation. And what was I going to say that he said? He had brought up something really specific about the whole James Comey thing. And dang, it just slipped my mind. So it will come back to me in a second. But I don't think anything's going to come of this at the end of the day. But keep going.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, if he did do it or didn't do it, either way, like, let justice be done. Like, let's have due process, which is something we have not seen in years. Everything is so politically charged that due process doesn't really have room to be a thing, because it's like one side that's dogging the other side or trying to force stuff that isn't real or etc. Like, I just hope that regardless if he did it or did not do it, that we can actually have justice play out and the
Yeah,
actual
I remember. I apologize.
judicial system play out the way it was designed and supposed to function in this country.
No, this relates a lot to exactly what you're saying, because here's why I'm worried about that, because Tim Dillon was pointing out something very, very relevant. He was like, everyone thinks when they think of corruption and whatnot, and they think of the CIA, because the CIA is very sexy and very secretive, and it's like the one that's not as in your face, but you find out it's behind a lot of things, or it had its hand in something that was a big deal, and it's suspicious that they were there. The CIA's, how would you say, projected intention is to influence things outside of the U.S. Their job is to influence certain events and whatever things that are either garner our interest or in our best interest outside of the U.S. The FBI is the at-home on land CIA. And if you don't think that the FBI is a extremely corrupt organization, then you just have not been paying attention to history, whether it's cartels influencing it, the mafia influencing people in the FBI, people constantly taking, bribes and whatnot. And it's like, so one argument I want to throw out of the window real quick is that because he was the director of the FBI, he has some type of moral infrastructure within him that would allow him to not completely abuse that power and screw over people who are his enemies or the enemies of his political party or ideology. So if you think that the position makes someone more honest, or they wouldn't have gotten there without being able to be, not anything but honest, then I don't believe that you have a fair stake at the conversation, because you are just ignoring years and years and years of evidence that organizations are organizations, people are people, people corrupt organizations. The FBI is an organization.
100%.
It's been corrupted by both sides. But go on. I kind of cut you off.
No, I mean, that's exactly it. It's like the idea or the entity and the concept of the FBI, CIA, all that stuff makes total sense. Love it. All about it. But to your point, where the influence comes in and the degradation is the individuals that make up those organizations. There's plenty of good people, working for the FBI and CIA. Sure, don't doubt that. But there's also individuals in there that should not be there at all, that are taking full advantage of, status, their role, their responsibility, the power that they have, and using it for the absolute wrong reason. So all that to say, I would hope to help balance that out, or to seek those types of individuals out. That that's where our due process hopefully comes in, and hopefully this is a decent start to getting back on track with holding people accountable for their actions. Again, I'm not saying for sure Comey did it. I'm not saying he didn't do it. I just want there to be a fair trial to where justice is done. If he's innocent, cool. If he's not, then it's time for actual process to happen.
please hear that loud and clear that we're not officially taking a side on this, because
We're not.
this happens all the time. We bring something up, and then people are like, "You're
It happens so much.
you're such a MAGA idiot. You blah 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 blah. You're a Christian idiot." I'm just like, we're like, listen to more than 30 seconds of what we were talking about, please. Give it a like and follow, and
Share it.
um, share it. Mention us in your story, whatever. But um, we are more conservative guys, 100%. I would definitely say we're more right leaning than we are left leaning. That does not mean we are declared Republicans. That does not mean that we have initial beliefs on anything. We really like to see things play out. And I would say Chase and I differ on a lot of things, just in terms of like he just said, is very hopeful that justice plays out. I, on the other hand, don't think justice has the ability to play out at arenas this high, because there's so much tomfoolery going on that, and it's all it is whoever's in power utilizing their now greater power to then antagonize the other side. And I do think that there are some relevant topics to bring up with this James Comey guy, but do I believe that inherently it's after justice? No, because if we were really after justice, Hillary Clinton would have actually been in jail.
Correct. And I did want to. I agree with you 100%. Like, I hope justice is done, but from what we've seen over the last, especially 10 years, it has not been done. There's been a lot of protecting, a lot of self-preservation among individuals at the highest level, i.e., we call it the deep state. It runs very deep, very,
And it
very
runs
deep,
both
almost to where
sides.
you're immune. Both
The
sides.
deep
Yeah.
The deep state, it doesn't have a side. The deep state is an entity in and of itself that wants to keep its claws in government and make sure that whatever happens, it's protected and its interests are protected and its future is secure. It's a parasite that is latched onto the government of very rich billionaires that no one knows about because they're quiet. They don't go out in nice cars and all this stuff. They're not in movies. They're not Elon Musk trying to be cool to 15-year-olds, while still being the smartest guy in the world. There's a lot of people out there that have a lot of influence and a lot of money that you'll never know about. And they're behind major corporations. And it's like one of the sad things is that you kind of realize as you get older, it's really major corporations that Palantir,
Yeah.
IBM, Pepsi.
Microsoft. I mean, look at all the healthcare
Microsoft,
insurance companies.
Apple, Amazon. These major,
United Healthcare.
major. Yeah, I mean, corporate. I wouldn't even throw them into the conversation because they're inherently corrupt. Like it is their job to be corrupt. They are supposed to deny claims to make the company more money, even if it means someone's grandmother dying over something that could have been easily fixed.
Yep.
But for instance, Amazon does the cloud. And correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure Amazon does, holds the cloud data for the CIA. Because that data
Or
has
is
to
that
be that
Meta?
cloud. No, it's Amazon.
Is it?
I literally just said correct me if I'm wrong, and then I doubled down and said it was Amazon.
You're wrong.
Just because you said it, I was like, it can't be wrong. Me
This
and
is why
Chase
this
were recently
podcast is so interesting.
we're at an Oktoberfest this past
It
weekend.
is. You're right. Amazon Web Services.
Yes, I thought so. So we were at Oktoberfest this weekend, and we got into an argument over whether call signs can be changed. And we literally called his dad, both screaming into the phone, and his dad was like, just calm down, maybe. And we're like, we're not like actually getting in this big of a fight. It's just for the sake of the fact that we care about being right when the other one thinks they're right. But that's a story for closer to the end of the podcast. But I want to go quickly over James Comey's controversies real quick so people can have a frame of reference. At least this is what Chat GPT pulled up for me before we jumped on here, because we did kind of wanted to talk about this. But one, the FBI's 2016 investigation into Hillary Clinton's use of private email server and his public disclosures around it. Two, the Crossfire Hurricane investigation into possible ties between between the Trump campaign and Russia. That was completely shown to be completely fake. The question of whether Comey acted properly or improperly in handling of leaks, memos, and his public statements. The recent 2025 indictment charging Comey with making false statements to Congress and obstructing a congressional proceeding based on his Senate testimony about leaks. Okay, so those are the controversies in question. And I guess the 2025 indictment is specifically referencing that. But what did he say? Let's see. Defense's arguments in favor of Comey or justification of his actions. I don't even want to go through that, but I feel that I will be biased if I don't. Reasonable judgment under difficult circumstances. Supporters argue that 2016 campaign, the public's interest in the gravity of the leaks and Clinton email issue created pressure on the FBI to be transparent. Comey's public disclosures, though non-standard, were intended to preserve trust in the integrity of the investigation. Some say that while his choices were imperfect, they were made in good faith, not for partisan reasons. Okay, that doesn't change whether they're right or wrong. Lack of mens rea, intent, ambiguity, and authority. A common defense is that Comey may not have knowingly made false statements, even if the facts are contested, especially where authorization or intel communications are murky. Proving that he knew a statement was false is often a higher bar. The defense can argue that Comey may have reasonably believed that the certain communications or leak oversight fell within permissible internal discretion, or that someone else's role or miscommunication was involved. If ambiguity exists whether a person was properly authorized, that ambiguity tends to work in favor of the defendant in criminal law. I don't want to read all of this. Precedent and norms protection for official discretion. The defense may argue that the senior law enforcement officials need some breadth to carry out investigative and public disclosure decisions without fear or future liability, or else they'd be paralyzed by potential prosecutions. Political motivation, selective prosecution. Many of Comey's defenders argue that the entire case is politically motivated, that the indictment is retribution against someone who opposed Donald Trump during the Russia investigation, which was found to be completely fake. They point to procedural oddities, the replacement of the U.S. attorney who declined to pursue charges, the timing of near statutes of limitation, and the fact that prosecutors declined to bring charges. All right, last one. Defenders point out that the legal analysis widely regard the case as weak and unlikely to lead to conviction. They may argue it is a political theater case more than a serious criminal matter designed to harass rather than succeed. Okay. I want to say something about that last one. First off, duh. You think you're going to put someone through 4 straight years, 8 straight years? I don't know how long. 4 straight years, then he wasn't. So 8 straight years of investigations. And the one that the Russia investigation, raids, and then the most recent one being this the money that he gave, that President Trump gave to a hooker. And one thing I watched multiple lawyers from both sides say that was one of the weakest cases anyone has ever brought against anyone for anything. And then when they say you're indicted of 34 felonies, what they're saying is there were 34 entries of whatever this was. Therefore, we're going to put it as 34 felonies. That's such a blanket way to try to discredit, or not discredit, to try to shape the narrative of what, because that is I've seen so many memes where people are like, on the left is a guy who did X, Y, and Z. On the right is someone with 34 felonies, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, can you stop doing that? Because that's literally like saying, I stole 3 things from the gas station. And instead of a misdemeanor for stealing the 3 things, you give me 3 misdemeanors. And then for the sake of the judge, and correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't really care in terms of it's about prosecuting what actually happened. And then all that to say, if you really think that you're going to do that to someone for 8 straight years, and most of it being complete BS, provable BS, the Steele dossier, the Russia investigation, this whole thing about the 34 felonies that was done right as he was running for president, trying to discredit him and his voting, get him as little votes as possible. If you think someone's not going to get back into office and go, oh, if you've done anything, and I believe you actually have done something, now I'm going to use the full force of everything you did to me to show you how it feels. Like, if you don't think that's a logical set of events, you're just, it's ridiculous. I can't
I
relate
think
to you.
that might just be a bonus effect because realistically, I mean, over the last 10 years, we haven't really had a lot of accountability being had. So now that we have, I mean, Trump has full cabinet and full kind of control, full conservative control. I think, I mean, and we're given very limited time, or different cabinets are given very limited time to actually get stuff done. So for the next 2 years, be in the House, the Senate, obviously the White House. I mean, the Supreme Court is majority conservative, relatively speaking. Now's the time to get stuff done. All this stuff that is continually being buried or has been buried by Comey, by Clinton, by Peter Strzok, the Steele dossier, by individuals of the last administration, the 34 fake felony accounts that were brought against Trump. Like, that was a complete agenda to throw at him to deter him from becoming president. They were throwing every single thing at him. I mean, from what it looks like as a third person point of view, person who's just watching the situation to prevent him from becoming president. So I think that's just a natural byproduct of being like, yo, remember all this stuff that you just did to me over the last few years? Well, guess what? Retribution's coming. And hopefully, referring back to justice, justice will be done for all of it. And I did want to tie in something real quick. Remember back in May when James Comey posted on the social media 8647, the
Mm-hmm.
seashells written in the sand? 86 meaning, depending on context, meaning ejecting, getting rid
Yeah,
of.
86 is a very, like, 86 it. It's a very common phrase of
Yeah.
saying get rid of it.
Or in some extreme cases, killing or murdering. And obviously 47 being 47th president of the US. I would say, because he posted that and then shortly after he took it down. You want to say or want to look into something that doesn't really bode well optics wise for that individual,
I mean,
and
I get
especially
it.
it playing into it now. Like, I don't know. I'm just curious if that's going to be brought up at all too.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, it's like one of those things that he has enough plausible deniability I apologize, for it to be inadmissible in court. I don't know if it's inadmissible. I don't even know if it'd meet the qualifications for being admissible. But in terms of, I don't know if it'd meet the qualifications of any type of evidence. But yes, in terms of this not being, in terms of it giving a strong indicator that whatever James Comey did was politically motivated and not motivated by actually seeking justice. Yeah, that does not look good on your side, because
Yeah,
it's just,
that's what I mean. Yeah.
that's the thing, is like you're that much of a professional that you can't even have the foresight to see how this would completely screw you over, because you're so emotionally attached to certain topics that you need to make a political statement or a political jab over. It's kind of like the argument of, like, these young girls who are getting into OnlyFans don't understand the ramifications of what they're doing, and their bodies will be, and the things they produce will be on the internet forever. You're never getting rid of them. If the harder you try to get rid of them, the harder the internet will preserve them, because when it's scarce and people can't find it, it's valuable. And if you are one of these women who is turning 18 and just running onto that train thinking that it's not going to have some long-term effects that you didn't think about or didn't plan for or did not want, then that's not a very smart way to approach anything. But you look at them and you're like, they're 18. It makes sense that they don't have the foresight to see that, or at least, even though it's so being told to them, it makes sense that an 18-year-old would not maturely approach something that potentially detrimental. And I say all that to say that James Comey seems to think like an 18-year-old. The fact that he would put something online like that, knowing all of the stuff he's done, knowing all the stuff that, or questions being asked about him, and think that that would not have an ability to influence decisions in ways that he doesn't want to go. So, or he doesn't want them to go. So, I just, he seems like a very emotional person that is wrapped up in his own story. And, like the video he came out with, and he's just like, oh, it's justice will be served. And it's like,
Yeah.
I just, it seems very theatric and very play, and, just like, and he's like, come on, bring it on. I'm just like, you are giving yourself away right now, being like, oh, you just seem so emotionally attached to this situation that even if it is in your worst interest, you'll still have to do something for the sake of satisfying your own ego.
Yeah. Well, it's just too, for a person that is in such a high position of power. I mean, it's just like, dude, where is your relative sense of just like, maybe this isn't a good idea, to what you were saying about the 18-year-old girl instance? But it's just like, dude, you're the director of the FBI. Like at some point, and if it wasn't whoever it was, I mean, I'm not framing it specifically for James Comey, any individual that is in a high stance of power, position of power, if you can't think through certain actions, then I'm just like, this is partially what's wrong with our society these days. Because it's just like, it's all emotionally charged. Everything seems to be in some form or fashion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just to quickly go over, the arguments against Comey. One, that he violated the DOJ FBI norms on public disclosures and timing. Critics say Comey violated standard Department of Justice norms by publicly notifying Congress about the reopening of the Clinton email investigation shortly before the 2016 presidential election, a move that departed from the DOJ's typical practice of avoiding public commentary on ongoing investigations near elections. The Inspector General report on the DOJ FBI handling of the Clinton email investigation criticized Comey's October letter to Congress, reopening the probe as an ad hoc and a serious error in judgment. So he's just dumb. The IG also found that some of Comey's deviations from policy and his public statements were extraordinary and insubordinate insofar as he concealed to his superiors his intention to hold a press conference, or concealed. So he essentially went and did it without even telling his bosses what he was about to do, which is
it's a good idea.
I guess extraordinary and insubordinate. Again, acting like some sort of superhero, like thinking he has to save the world or something.
Well, and acting like there's a sense of immunity too. Like I can do whatever, and there's going to be no repercussion. That's what my hope is like, yes, justice, but everyone else gets held to a certain level of judgment, right? To a level or to a standard. Just because you're in a high position of power doesn't mean you are immune from that. And I just hope there's a restructuring and a resettling of that balance. That just because you're up there doesn't mean you're immune.
And then bias, partisan overreach. Some argue that Comey's decisions show political judgments or overreach beyond his strictly law enforced role. The IG found evidence of FBI personnel showing political bias in their texts favoring Clinton over Trump, though it concluded that bias did not affect decision-making in the email case. Some critics assert that Comey's public commentary and the grandstanding nature of certain announcements suggests he was acting more like a political actor than a neutral investigator. Legal vulnerability and false statements and obstruction. The 2025 indictment accuses Comey of making materially false statements to Congress and of obstructing a congressional proceeding. Critics argue that withholding or misrepresenting the facts in a Senate's testimony is serious and that, if proven, is criminally indictable. Some argue the timing and setup of the indictment appear politically motivated. The replacement of the U.S. attorney and they approached, the U.S. Attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia, the approach taken by new incoming prosecutor, and the proximity to expiration of statutes of limitation raises concerns about fairness. You know what really grinds my gears.
Hmm.
And this is like, this makes me put on not the tinfoil hat, but whatever's in between that and the tinfoil hat. Whatever's in between this hat and the tinfoil one, this makes me put on that one. Because these are the criticisms, arguments against Comey or his actions. What I read to you earlier was where did it go? Defense of Comey and his actions. That's what I read to you earlier. I started with the defenses. That point was made in the defenses. There was no point made in the defenses talking about the criticisms, but in the criticisms, ChatGPT, felt the need to put on there. Even this is the criticism, saying the critics argue that withholding or misrepresenting facts in the Senate testimony is serious and that, if proven, is criminally indictable. Some argue that the timing of the setup and the indictment appear politically motivated, essentially saying that Trump is doing this, with a political motivation. I'm like, why are you including that in the criticisms? You already make that point in the other, in the
Other
defense
side.
forum. Yeah, and it's like, you don't have anything about any of the criticisms on the defense side. Why is this all of a sudden shoved into this one when you're supposed to be talking about the criticisms?
Biased.
So it's just like, why are you showing me this right here when this is not the section for it? Weakness, legal case, evidentiary problems, political weaponization, and precedent risk. I don't, I think this is now going down that route. Several legal analysts argue this case is weak because much of the evidence depends on proving what Comey knew at the time and on complex chains of authorization or leak control. The flimsiness of the indictment has been noted. Some describe that the public narrative is murky about whether Comey actually authorized a leak or whether someone else did. Political weaponization and precedent risk. Critics of the indictment argue that charging a former senior official for actions taken while in office, especially when those actions are entangled with sensitive investigations and public statements, set a dangerous precedent for politicizing the justice system. They warn it could chill officials from taking actions or speaking in politically fraught investigations out of fear of later prosecution. Some see the timing, late 2025, as the way the case was brought forward as politically orchestrated. Okay, so
Dude. What do you think they did to Trump for the last 10 years? Seriously. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, this is politically charged. Like, this is total projection.
what this reminds me?
Some
Have you
sort of
seen
sick,
some of this
twisted show.
sick twisted something? Yes, but you've seen clips of these. Now that it's become such a viral topic for men, what men go through on the divorce side and how often it essentially robs them of their income, robs them of their livelihood, their ability to grow, all this stuff. And then, now there's a lot of judges who are doing it much more fairly and putting it on both of the parents. Or if the woman made more money, then she now has to uphold the lifestyle of the man. And you see clips of like women who have like really successful women who have gone through divorce talking about how they now have to pay for his house. They now have to pay for his car. They have to give this much money in, for the child in alimony or whatever it is for a month. And the entire comment section is just all guys just being like, are you not hearing yourself out loud? Like, this is what's been happening to guys for and they're talking about it as if
Forever.
it's like, I can't believe that. Are you, the judge made me do, it's like, when what world does this, and it's like the world that you've existed in and benefited from, or women have benefited from in terms of being able to essentially steal half of a man's worth going through a divorce, playing on the fact that men are usually the breadwinners in the house, and that women in some way, shape, or form are invulnerable to, not invulnerable, like,
Immune,
it's
almost.
crazy that the same standard would be applied to them.
Yeah,
But
100%.
this reminds me,
And it is wild. I mean, it's projection for one, but just the realization that people don't seem to be able to connect the dots. Like, there's such a disconnect in their minds being like, well, how's that fair? Be like, well, how's that fair for the other side? That's what one side's been facing for years and years and years. So now that the scales are being tipped, to where we're going to balance things out, all of a sudden it's insanity. Like, how is this fair? You're like, okay, sure, makes total
It's
sense to me. But
they're
well, I know
ridiculous.
yeah, I know we're approaching an hour, but I know, speaking of emotionally charged um societies and decisions and just what it seems to be in today's time, we did um have something to say, I think, on Charlie Kirk. Um, I know this was something Keegan and I definitely wanted to at least talk about for a little bit. Um, but just the whole instance and way society seems to be going, that um, I don't know. We did just want to slightly say something about it. So I think, to wrap up this episode, or before we do, I think it'd be a good time to kind of give our thoughts on that. Not even our thoughts, but to just, I don't know, process through it. Because at least for me, and I know for you, Keegan, like, it's been a couple weeks at this point, but it is still very fresh, and it is still very hard to, I don't know,
Weird that
just
he's
kind of
gone.
wrap your mind around. Um, for someone that did not incite any violence at all, who was literally wanting to just have a conversation and discussions with individuals from different points of view, from different mentalities and mindsets, for that level of extreme violence to be taken out on him due to someone feeling offended, that Charlie's logic or his words rattled this individual so much that he decided to take the ultimate form of violence. And I just think it's extremely sad that, regardless of whatever you believe politically, that it resorted to that ultimate outcome. And I think it is very, I don't know. I mean, just as a human being, I don't, again, care what your politics, your beliefs are, but just individuals that were sitting there cheering and being all excited and saying he had it coming, I think is extremely disturbing, for one. I mean, just resort to your basic level of humanity. That is an individual, he was a husband, he was a father, who was murdered in cold blood, who will forever be taken away from his wife, from his kids. His kids will not grow up with a father. His wife is now having to figure things out going forward without her husband, because someone ultimately decided to make that decision due to emotion. And I don't know. I think it is extremely unfortunate, and just goes to show how much we have strayed away from basic levels of humanity. Like, we can't get past some differences with the way we see in politics or beliefs in general, that we're still going to dig not our feet, but some individuals will dig their feet into the ground, not budge, and say he had it coming. But you can't separate yourself from that and literally just have an emotional outflow of just reaction, being like, his family just lost a son, lost a husband, lost a dad. Like, at sheer human basic level, you cannot get your mind to get to that point and just feeling sorry for his family. And I think that is so, so unfortunate.
Yeah, man. I'll be kind of quick about this. I've thought a lot about what I wanted to say in regards to. Maybe I won't be quick. I tend to say that and then talk for a long time. But I mean, man, I was, because at the end of the day, I think, regardless of whether you agreed or disagreed with him, or if you think that what he said was hateful, or what he said incited the hateful rhetoric, or, and I think rhetoric is such a dumb thing to say in general, and it's a very loose term that people use too much, because rhetoric is just a combination of unintentional actions that you're trying to put intentionality into. And I think that's easily shaped in whatever way that you want that to go. So you can always say that someone has XYZ rhetoric, and clip things, and just hear things and push things that they say in the direction that you think that they were trying to push it in, without ever actually examining the full context for intention, or what was actually going on. So um, regardless of whether you think any of that, um, he was someone that made the people, or gave the people who disagreed with him, the opportunity to come up and speak with him first and debate him. I don't care if you think he was debating in a advantageous environment with younger kids who wouldn't have as much of a perspective or information, that's on you. If you're passionate about a topic and you're willing to come up and debate someone on it and you're not knowledgeable on a topic, that's on you. I don't care how old you are. No, if you're above 18, if you're below 18, then, you know, uh, you get the benefit of the doubt. But if you're 18 or above, you're now an adult and you're now expected to, or not expected to, it's going to behoove you. I think that's the right word. It's going to be good for you to be knowledgeable on where your opinions actually come from and why you believe them, and being able to say things that support them in the face of adversity. And you just don't see that. I don't see that from the other side. I'm more right leaning. I don't see from the left people going and having these conversations. And that is Charlie said something that was so important. He said that when civil discourse dies, war starts. And I think that's so true. And, he was a main line of civil discourse. Now, there's a lot of stuff coming out in terms of bad influences in Turning Point USA and, things behind the scenes that were going on. And nothing bad about Charlie, but just, I don't think, I think there's forces at play in a lot of different things. And, those forces are going to try to get what they want. If you're in the way of that, then, they might, they might not like that. But I'm not saying anything about anything in regards to Charlie Kirk. I'm just saying that, there's bad people everywhere. But if you, as a person, in any way, shape, or form, celebrated his death, then I just want to highlight something for you. If in any way, shape, or form, if his death is anything besides a tragedy to you, anything besides a tragedy, I just want to highlight something for you that is you need to be very cognizant of. I've been addicted to drugs before. I've gone far down paths that do not help me, help anyone else. They're ultimately destructive. And I'll tell you one thing, you don't wake up that far down the path. It's taken with baby steps. And if you have gotten to a point in life where you can see something like that, knowing that he is a husband, father, all of those things that are general wants that we all have, or mostly all have, or that are societal goals for what we believe to be a great life, in a life that you deserve to have the opportunity for. If in any way, shape, or form you see it as anything outside of that and can't see that, and celebrate it in any way, shape, or form, then, or the line that actually I was trying to draw is that if you're ever in a situation where something allows you to think that death or causing death for someone else is okay, and does not need to be the last resort, or is in any way, shape, or form justified as a the ultimate right thing to do, in terms of like that's the only thing, or it makes sense, or it goes in that direction, then you are far down a path that you really need to look at, because that is the part where we have to draw the lines as people who disagree and say, hey, no matter what you say or what I say or what we think or where we disagree, if I go into the arena of thinking that ending your life for that is a good option, then that should be the indicator you have gone too far. That is the agreement we all make when we engage in civil discourse, is saying that if no matter what, there is no justification for me killing you over what you believe and what you say. And if you ever in any way, shape, or form think or feel, like I said, feel good about it, then you are far down a path that is only going to be destructive and detrimental to you and the people that you love. And you only really you only think about that when you're on the receiving end of the bad side of it. You never think about it when you're on the giving end. So I would caution you. I'd let you know I'm praying for you as a person. I'm praying for your soul, for your heart, even if you don't believe in, what my prayers do or, where they go to. But I would correct course, because you are far down a path that is very hard to reverse. And it's only going to be more dangerous for you than anyone else. And, potentially other people as well. So Charlie Kirk was a modern day hero, man. I mean, he really went out there and I don't care whether you agreed with him or disagreed with him, but he went out there and was willing to talk about it and willing to engage in debate over it and not kill someone. Rest in peace to him.
Yeah.
Praying for his family, for Erica Kirk. And she already did this. But we were, as a podcast, we wanted to say we also forgive the shooter, because that's what our God calls us to do. And as much as I detest and have what I feel to be as close to hate as possible for that person, our God calls us to love our enemies. And so not only, we forgive him, we forgive all the people that have celebrated something like this. And that's a stance that we want to take as a podcast, because, again, that's what our God calls us to do. But we're about 6 minutes over our regular time. But we did not want to leave that on the table as, not having kind of given our piece about it.
Absolutely. And that's just the basic fundamental, First Amendment that we can all enjoy as citizens of the U.S., free speech. And like Keegan was referencing, what Charlie Kirk believed in is public discourse, talk. Everyone's got differences. That does not warrant going to kill someone over it. Because that in and of itself almost renders the First Amendment completely useless. Legitimately. So all that to say, it definitely exposed a lot in my heart upon hearing about that instance at first, and definitely had to take an inward look just at the emotional response that caused out of me. And like Keegan said, we do not wish harm on anyone, nor do we think anyone should be harmed, due to their political beliefs or whatever beliefs they might have. Ultimately, you have your opinion, we have ours. That doesn't mean we have to hate each other over it. That's why this country is literally the best in the world. We can all disagree about everything, but guess what? We can still get along. We can still talk. We can still process through. So all that to say, keep talking, keep debating. Don't keep quiet. Don't resort to violence for one, too, because once we skip that First Amendment and go straight to violence as a result, then what's it all for? Legitimately. That's how we get better, is by talking. So individuals from all sides of the aisle, left, right, neutral, whatever it is, we love all you guys, and we just appreciate you tuning in once again, and we're just grateful to be able to have an outlet to be able to talk. And we obviously, in the memory of Charlie Kirk, we welcome debate. If you completely disagree with everything we're saying, we'd love to hear your side of things. Yes, we lean towards one side, but that doesn't mean we're going to sit here, point fingers, say you're wrong. We're open for debate. We're open for conversation, discussion. So all that to say, we appreciate you guys tuning in for episode 39. And we look forward to just continuing this journey and leading on to episode 40.
Yes, sir. Guys, it was fun. Love all of you, as we said, and we'll see you on episode 40. Peace out, Cub Scouts.
Peace.